Hey there, everyone. So I actually shampooed, conditioned, and straightened my hair for the first time in about 6 months on Friday night. And it's just because I have a trip coming up that it made sense for me to just want my hair to look a bit neater. But in general, I've really been enjoying not using shampoo and conditioner these days. I plan to talk more about that in the future. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. Just wanted to start off by saying something I am really, really passionate about is issues related to women's mental health, and especially issues of self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, and all the factors that can influence the way that women feel about themselves, the way they relate to each other and to other people, their relationships. And that is a big part of why I talk about dating coaches, people who give women advice about how to show up in relationships with other people or in their romantic relationships. I care about these things when it comes to men as well, of course. I want both men and women to have good mental health, but because I am a woman, and especially because I used to be an insecure young woman, these issues have a particular place in my heart, and I feel particularly strongly about messages that young women are sent from all over the show, but nowadays, especially from social media and influencers and coaches who claim to be able to help them, and how these messages contain these sort of subtle, subliminal, I guess messages. Yeah, within the content, there are these subtle subliminal messages being sent to young women, telling them how to feel about themselves and the so-called right way to show up in their relationships with other women and with men, and how to be sort of the right kind of person or the right kind of woman, or how to behave in the right way in order to get particularly men to like them. And I find this entire concept to be incredibly unhealthy and problematic. But when we delve a little bit more into what these influencers are actually saying, these coaches or people who sort of have propped themselves up as experts, what they're actually saying, it just becomes more and more sinister. And we can actually start to understand why so many women struggle with self-worth and struggle with self-doubt and not knowing whether they are good enough just as they are. And I feel very passionately about this. This is something I've deconstructed extensively for myself. It's something I'm still in the process of deconstructing, and my self-esteem has benefited enormously by being able to break down these harmful messages. And so I'm hoping to help other women in particular, but men as well, I guess, to also really start to question with a critical eye the things that they're being told, the messages that they're absorbing, and just start to say, wait a minute, hang on, does this actually support my happiness and health, and mental health, the goals that I'm trying to achieve in my life and with my relationships? Is this what this person is saying? Does this actually support me? Is this actually kind and caring and loving towards myself? And although I actually try to make these videos, uh, not overly lengthy, I try to keep them as short as possible. I find that when I'm reacting to content such as the content I'm going to be reacting to today, I have so much to say, and I find it necessary to break down these videos and this content in quite minute detail so that nothing is missed. Because when you're watching one of these videos, there's a lot of subliminal messaging going on, and it can kind of wash over you to the point that you miss a lot of the sort of like subtle, harmful things that are being said. And so I tend to pause these videos a lot. I tend to comment a lot. My commentary tends to be many, many times longer than the videos that I react to. And for me, I find that necessary. I find that is the way that I can get my points across. But I do realize that my videos are sort of long form content that not everyone might enjoy or have the patience for, and that is totally fine. But just know that if you sit down to watch one of my reaction videos, it is going to be on the longer side, and I am going to go into quite a lot of depth and detail because I just see a lot here that is very problematic and that I feel like needs to be brought into the light. And hopefully by my commenting on these videos in this way, it will perhaps make it easier for you to spot some of the problematic messaging that you might see out there in the wild. And maybe it'll encourage you to just sort of stop and take a more critical look at it before absorbing what these influencers are saying, or before you trust some of these coaches, many of whom, or I would say most of whom, have absolutely no qualifications or really any expertise at all to be saying the things that they're saying. And with that being said, I just feel I need to just give a disclaimer about myself. I am not a mental health professional. I am in the process of studying to be a counselor, but I'm not a qualified mental health professional. I am purely giving these comments, this commentary as my own opinion, and it comes as a result of my own experience with these issues. And everything that I say should be weighed up against your own judgment and discernment to see if it's a fit for you. I don't want you to see me as any sort of expert either. I'm purely commenting in a way that I'm hoping will be helpful to other people, but I am not a professional or an expert either. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. Importantly, I think that's an important distinction to make. A lot of these influencers and coaches are making their living by giving this type of advice. They're trying to sell products, or at the very least, they're trying to get you to see them as an expert in this area that they're advising you on. This influencer that I'm going to be talking about today, and I'm going to call her an influencer. I don't know very much about her, but she has, a medium-sized following here on YouTube. Her name is Angel Gray, and she seems to be making content that's targeted towards young, very young women. So girls, even girls in high school, girls in college, girls who are probably around her own age. And they seem to be particularly targeted towards issues that these very young women and young girls struggle with, namely being popular, being liked by others, fitting in, how to get boys to like them, how to have kind of successful dating experiences, these sorts of things. Now, I think it's also important that we remember that girls around this age, so girls who are sort of maybe between the ages of 15 and say 23, are very often struggling with their self-worth and with self-doubt. They're still forming their identities, their brains are still growing, they're still experimenting with their own sense of style and with their own preferences and tastes and who they are in just a multitude of different areas. And I think for those of us who have been that age, we remember very clearly what a sort of confusing time of life it can be. And girls this age are incredibly susceptible to messaging that tells them that they are not good enough as they are, and that they need to change in order to be more pleasing to other people and to be more sort of, I guess, nice and, kind of that this message that women are supposed to go along to get along and smile and be positive and just always be pleasant for other people to be around. I think young women are particularly susceptible to this sort of messaging, and that's why I've chosen to focus on this video and why I've chosen to react to it, because I remember being that age. And I remember feeling like it was my responsibility to make sure that other people always felt good around me and that I never rocked the boat or caused any sort of conflict, or that other people never had an unpleasant experience around me, and that anytime someone had any sort of negative reaction to me, it was always my fault, and that it was my responsibility to just be um, more easygoing, more accepting of other people, more, you know, make myself smaller, be more of a people pleaser, all this sort of thing. And I think a lot of young women can probably relate to feeling that way. And content like what the content that Angel Gray is putting out there is unfortunately just reinforcing these messages, which can just make it more and more difficult for young women to really discover who they are authentically and to feel as if they are worthy and lovable and good enough just as they are. And yes, of course, we can all grow and improve as people. And if you're that young, you still have an awful lot of growing and learning to do. So that will come with time. But I absolutely do not agree with, in fact, I have very strong feelings about this. I'm very, very much against people who try to make young people feel as if they are not allowed to just learn and grow and be in a process of changing and discovering themselves, but instead make these young people feel as if they need to be perfect at all times. This is such harmful messaging. It can lead to all kinds of mental health issues and low self-worth. So I think that's potentially enough of an introduction at this stage. Let's go ahead and have a look at the video. The first thing I want to do is pull up the thumbnail for this video, which I think just needs to be discussed all on its own. If you just bear with me, I don't edit my videos, by the way, so there might be a little bit of me sort of figuring things out as I go along, but I'm going to try and keep that to a minimum. So I just want to pull up the thumbnail for this video. First of all, let's have a look at this thumbnail. Now, the title of this video is How to Become the Girl Everyone Falls in Love With, Including Your Crush. And I want to just take this opportunity to talk about thumbnails for videos and how harmful they can be. Just the thumbnail and the thumbnails and titles of videos. And I think it is very important for us to talk about this. I know that influencers and content creators will make titles and thumbnails in order to get attention. And we kind of need to take it with a pinch of salt. But at the same time, thumbnails and video titles often have incredibly toxic and unhealthy messaging in them before we've even got into the video itself. So let's look at the title of this video, How to Become the Girl Everyone Falls in Love With, Including Your Crush. So right off the bat, she's talking about how to become someone, how to become someone else. So who you are right now, the person that you are, is not good enough on its own. You need to become someone. You can't just be yourself. You can't just do what comes naturally to you. You have to become a particular kind of girl in order for someone that you like, someone that you might have a crush on, to like you back. The next thing I want to talk about is the way she says the girl everyone falls in love with, as if that is a prerequisite in order to be acceptable as a young woman, that everyone needs to be in love with you. And why? Why does everyone need to be in love with us? Why can it not be okay for some people to like us and some people not to like us? For some people to fall in love with us and some people to not fall in love with us? Why is that not okay? Why do we need to put this pressure on young women to say that everyone needs to fall in love with you. You need to somehow become this version of yourself that will make everybody that you meet fall in love with you. It's a completely unrealistic and ridiculous standard to set for women. And it's subtly sending the message that if you cannot get everybody to fall in love with you, then you are doing something wrong. You are lacking in some way. If you only follow the advice in this video, you can actually be a person whom everybody falls in love with. And first of all, I don't even think that that is a desirable goal to have. I don't think we should be aspiring to make everybody fall in love with us. It's okay if not everybody is crazy about you. It's okay if not everybody loves you. We need to be normalizing the fact that not everybody is going to like us or love us. Some people will and some people won't, and that is okay. Being your authentic self is more important. And I don't at all agree with this idea that we should be sending young women the message that they need to make everybody fall in love with them. So I just wanted to talk about that aspect, the title of this video. Then let's have a look at the thumbnail. So she's got her before and after pictures. Before, she's got this girl who, to my mind, this girl looks perfectly acceptable and okay. There's nothing wrong with her. She looks like she's maybe a little bit sad, but she's a beautiful girl. And so that's supposedly the before picture. And then the after picture is a girl who looks very excitable and happy. And, this is supposedly who you can become. You can become this excited, happy girl. And she's got the text, "You deserve to be her." Well, why does a person deserve to be anyone other than themselves? Again, this is this harmful messaging coming through that you as you are not good enough. You deserve to be someone else as some sort of prize. And it's sending the message that any unhappiness that you might feel is because you're actually not good enough the way that you are. You just simply need to learn how to become someone else. And then you'll have the happiness that you deserve. That's how I interpret what's going on in this thumbnail. Let me know what you think. So let's now get into the video itself. And we're going to see what advice Angel Grey gives us in order to be this girl, supposedly, that everyone is going to fall in love with. So let's go ahead and play the video.
Do you want to become the girl that everyone is in love with? Do you want to have your crush fall in love with you and have every single person addicted and obsessed with your energy? Then this video is going to be for you, because
So again, let's talk about the words that she's using. Addicted and obsessed. These are not healthy words. When you're addicted to something, that is an unhealthy behavior. And obsession, again, is unhealthy behavior. So it's setting the standard that what women should aspire to is to have other people unhealthily preoccupied with them. Now, no relationship can live up to that over the long term. That's not sustainable. Addiction, obsession is not sustainable. As I've already mentioned, it's unhealthy behavior. So using words like addicted and obsessed and planting those seeds inside a young woman's mind that this is how people are supposed to feel about her, it's unrealistic, it's unhealthy, it's unsustainable. But in a way, it kind of sounds good. We'd all like to have someone who, kind of thinks so highly of us and thinks we are so amazing that they're actually addicted or obsessed. But again, this is a an immature way of thinking. And I think once you mature out of this way of thinking and you realize that actually healthy love is a lot more balanced and calm, and it is it is something that actually has the potential to last over a long period of time. You kind of see this language for what it is. But it disturbs me that this is being marketed to young women as something to aspire to, addiction, obsession. It's not healthy. And we should, I believe, be teaching young people how to achieve a, a healthy balance in terms of mental health and not be fixated on things, which, as I've already mentioned, is not healthy. So just pay attention when words like addicted and obsessed get thrown around.
In this video, I'm gonna be telling you guys 10 secrets to becoming the girl that everyone is in love with, because you deserve to be that girl. Hi now, best friends, and welcome back to my sleepover. I'm so excited to be filming this video, and you probably noticed something's new. I put in these colorful hair extensions, and I also did a TikTok challenge where I did my makeup like whichever character the Wicked filter told me I was. So definitely check out that TikTok. But this is my Glinda makeup. Let me know how you like it. I've never had this much fun doing makeup in such a long time. But update of the day aside, today's video is going to be all about how to become the girl that everyone falls in love with and how.
Just a grammar Nazi pet peeve of mine. I know it's so annoying when people point out grammar errors, and I'm not in any way saying that my grammar is always 100% perfect, but I did used to be an English teacher, and a pet peeve of mine is when people use the present continuous tense. This video is going to be, or a continuous tense, going to be, when all you need to do is use the simple present tense. This video is about. Not that this video is going to be about. If you say this video is going to be about, you're talking about something that's going to happen in the future. But the video already exists. It's playing now. It's just this video is about. Not it's going to be about. This is about. Please. Please stop doing that. Please stop using those participles, going to be. Just use the present tense, the simple present tense this video is about. Anyway, had to say it. Sorry. Apologize for that, but it really annoys me.
To be the girl that effortlessly gets her crush to like her back. And just a side note, if you guys stay till the end, I will have a shout out of the week, and it might be one of you guys. Okay, so this first tip might not be completely revolutionary, but this kind of like girl that everyone falls in love with aura is basically composed of multiple of these things. So definitely don't just take one thing alone from this video. If you want to succeed, you should take this and kind of combine it all together. But the first tip, we're gonna address something that no one.
So there are multiple tips apparently about how to be this mysterious girl that everyone falls in love with. Can you imagine how much mental work that is, trying to hold all these different steps and components in your mind of exactly who you're supposed to be? And I remember thinking that way as a teenager and as a very young woman. All these things that I was supposed to be doing in order to get other people to like me. It's absolutely exhausting and draining, and just, oh, it's so much work. It's so much energy that you're spending on trying to please other people that you could be spending, doing something that you actually love and figuring out who you really are.
will ever be in love with. Something that if you do this, I guarantee you, people are going to be bored of you. People are not going to want to interact with you. And this is usually the habit that's really easy to fall into, which is not having your own opinions. That's when someone asks you, what should we get for dinner? And you're like, oh, I don't know, whatever. You're planning a date and this person's like, oh, would you like to choose the location or do you have any preferences? And you're like, oh, I don't know, like anything will do, whatever you like. Whatever you like is usually something that is the opposite of magnetic energy. Magnetic energy is having your opinion. It doesn't.
Again, I think I've mentioned this in other videos. These sort of coaches and influencers love to use the term magnetic. Be magnetic. You know, this, you have magnetic energy. Why? Why? Why do we need to be like magnets? Why do people need to be drawn to us like magnets all the time? Why do we have to set that standard for ourselves? Why can we not just accept other people living their lives and us living our lives without putting this pressure on ourselves that people need to feel fixated on us or drawn to us or preoccupied with us all the time? It's just, I find it so unhealthy. It's so over the top and it's way too much. And it creates this totally unrealistic expectation that we're supposed to fulfill. Please, just if someone uses the word, the terms like, I'll teach you how to become magnetic, just run a mile. It's a huge red flag.
Have to be to the point where you get into fights with people who have the opposite opinion, but having your own opinion is going to make you so attractive to people because it's refreshing. It's refreshing.
Will make you so attractive. Sorry, I'm really gonna try not to continuously comment on the grammar because that's not what this video is about. I just can't help it sometimes. Okay, so this is actually not bad advice. She's talking about not being afraid to express an opinion, and there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, you should be able to express your opinion. You should be able to express how you feel. It doesn't always need to lead to an argument or a fight. And sure, other people, you know, do like to know what you think about things, or they should like to know what you think about things. If you're on a date, hopefully the person that you're on a date with wants to know your opinion, wants to know how you feel, wants to know what your preferences are. And that's great, and that's fine. I think that it is a little bit concerning how she feels the need to specifically state that it is okay to have an opinion. Where along the lines did young women get the message that it was not okay for them to have an opinion? That's what would concern me. Why do we need to be explicitly saying that it's okay to have an opinion? It's almost as if she's acknowledging that there's messaging out there that tells young women that they're not allowed to have an opinion. And I also think that what's the other thing that's troubling about this is that she's essentially saying that the only benefit of expressing your opinion is that other people are not going to get bored of you, that it'll make you interesting to other people. Not that you're having an opinion is valuable in and of itself, that because you are a human being with value and worth, and so you're allowed to have an opinion purely for that reason. No, it's have an opinion so that other people will find you interesting. That's very troubling to me. I don't like that. You know, everyone on earth is entitled to have an opinion because they're a human being, because we all have the right to freedom of expression, and we have the right to our own feelings and thoughts. And that is completely independent of how other people feel about you. You're allowed to have an opinion, and you're allowed to have that no matter whether it makes people like you or not. So yeah, again, some of this advice is not terrible, but it's mixed in with problematic messaging, in my opinion.
To have someone actually bring a different point of view instead of just having an echo chamber of yourself, basically speaking to ChatGPT over here. And I know sometimes you might be scared to speak your opinion with someone because you feel like if you disagree with someone, they're not gonna like you. Yes, as people, we like people that we have things in common with, but at the same time, it shouldn't be to the point where you don't even have your own opinion, because that's incredibly boring. But moving on to the
What did did I say? So it's only valuable to have an opinion so that you are not boring to other people. It's not about being yourself or being authentic or having inherent self-worth. It's just about, well, if you don't have an opinion, other people are just going to become bored with you. The guy that you're interested in is just going to find you boring. And again, I'm just going to say it one more time. You're allowed to have an opinion because you as a human being have inherent worth and you have inalienable rights. And one of those rights is the right to express yourself and the right to have an opinion. And it has nothing to do with whether people find you boring or interesting. You have that right just because you exist as a human being on Earth. So I hope I've made that point very clear.
Second tip, which is more of a physical hack that I think every single girl that everyone is in love with has, which is make sure that you smell good. Have you ever heard someone talk about the person that everyone's in love with and be like, oh yeah, that.
By the way, can someone answer this for me? Who are these supposedly magical creatures that everyone is in love with? Do these people exist? If so, can someone give me an example? Because I'm trying to think of a person who is absolutely universally beloved by everybody, and I don't think I can think of a single example. Sure, there are some celebrities that are overall probably more popular than others, but I'm trying to think of these girls that everyone is in love with that she's talking about. Is this an American thing? Am I just too European to understand this? Maybe someone can enlighten me. I don't know who she's talking about when she talks about the girl that everyone's in love with. So maybe someone can help me to understand or give me some examples so that, this concept is a bit clearer to me, because as far as I can tell, everyone has something about them that, at least one other person is not going to like. So yeah, don't quite understand it.
Person never smells good. That person stank the other day. Okay, that's a little bit extreme. But whenever you hear about those people that everyone's in love with, a lot of the times you hear that they smell amazing. They have this incredible perfume and you can really distinguish their scent, which is another thing that I've been preaching on this channel for such a long time. But getting a signature perfume can be really powerful because one, that makes you more memorable to people, and two, having your signature scent that's distinct can really add that it girl effect to you. It's actually proven that people are more likely to perceive something as beautiful when in the presence of a pleasant smell. And one thing that can make everything even better is making sure to perfume your hair. You don't have to go overboard because it's gonna dry your hair out, but just getting a little bit of the perfume on top of your head and a little bit of the perfume on the back of your neck is going to be great, because whenever you flip
Will be great. Okay, there's nothing inherently wrong with this advice about, it's nice to smell good. Of course, it's nice to smell good, but I just do feel the need to point out, as someone who is a big fan of natural hair care, natural skin care, just natural everything, please just be careful about the chemicals that are in your perfume, and just make sure that you're not putting harmful chemicals on your body and in your hair in great quantities. That would just be my advice. Just if at all possible, try to go for natural scents and try to go for perfumes that are low in toxic chemicals, that have no toxic chemicals in them. And also, if you can't afford expensive perfumes, this is not a reason to feel badly about yourself either. I kind of don't enjoy this messaging that you have to buy these perfumes that cost hundreds of dollars or hundreds of pounds, and that is kind of the only acceptable way to smell good. There are lots of very, very affordable options in terms of how to smell nice. You can use essential oils, and you just use a very, very tiny amount of those. If you want to smell good, it doesn't have to be these perfumes that cost hundreds of dollars, or even a perfume that costs $20 or £20 could be a lot of money to some people. And so I just want to encourage you, if you can't afford these expensive perfumes, please, please, please don't let advice like this make you feel in any way inferior, or like people are not going to like how you smell. Remember that human beings are actually also attracted to the sort of pheromones that we naturally excrete out of our skin. And so even without synthetic perfumes, your smell can still be appealing to other people. So, as long as you're not struggling with any sort of body odor issues, this is not something I think you need to be overly worried about. As long as you like the way that you smell, I think that that's perfectly acceptable. Please don't feel like you need to go overboard and buy expensive perfumes or anything like that in order to be appealing to other people. So just wanted to say that as well.
Up your hair, you shake your hair, it's going to spread that smell. But speaking of putting perfume in your hair, one thing that definitely distinguishes the girl everyone falls in love with from someone who cannot get anyone to like them back is the hair. Having your hair look good.
I'm sorry, but a girl's hair is what distinguishes their hair is what distinguishes a person that everyone likes from someone who can't get anyone to like them back. It's got nothing to do with her character or her heart or her personality or beautiful face or being funny or kind or anything like that. It's the hair. This is such harmful messaging to a lot of girls who perhaps already feel self-conscious about their hair. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And also, please be very careful about the chemicals that you're putting in your hair. I mean, I will give her credit for the fact that she said perfume can dry out your hair, and it can. Perfume generally has a lot of alcohol in it and other harmful substances which are not great for your hair. So if you are going to put perfume in your hair, please be careful about the chemicals that are in it, and please don't put too much because it can damage your hair. So just wanted to say that as well.
It really levels up your look and gives you that it girl factor. You really need to be the girl that everyone falls in love with.
Also can't help but notice that a lot of the images of girls that she's using in this video are white girls with straight blonde hair. She's not really going out of her way to be inclusive. And again, I don't think I need to explain why that is harmful and problematic. It is very, very excluding of a great number of people with different hair types and who look different to these girls that she's including in this video. And again, it's not rocket science to see that that can be harmful to a lot of girls' self-esteem. And I would have given her credit for including girls who have different skin types, different hair types, who have different sorts of looks in this video, but it seems as if she is quite preoccupied with white girls who have straight blonde hair, and that is honestly unfortunate.
And two things that you can do to achieve this is number one, make sure to have a good hair routine. Make sure to invest in a hair mask if you have curly hair or if you have dry hair. And also something that I've recently discovered for myself, heatless overnight curls, because they give you the perfect blowout type of look every single time. That's kind of like a Victoria's Secret model-esque, and it definitely creates that stepping stone to becoming the girl everyone's in love with. Now, thank
So heatless overnight curls, great tip, love that. That's not going to damage your hair, so that's a lovely piece of advice. But I just do feel the need to make a quick plug for natural hair care as well. You don't necessarily need to use hair masks. You don't necessarily need to use expensive hair care products in order to have lovely hair. I won't go into that in too much detail because I could probably sit here and talk about that all day long. But again, I don't want anyone to feel as if They need to be spending lots of money and getting all sorts of complicated products just in order to have nice hair and in order to smell nice. It's completely untrue, and a lot of it is just purely marketing and a way to get us to spend more money as women and to feel more and more insecure about ourselves. So please be very mindful of that as well, and please look into how to care for your hair and your skin in such a way that it's healthy and that you're not putting too many toxins on your body. That's all I'll say about that at this point. Let's continue.
Speaking of the girls that everyone's in love with, what is something that can be noticeable in every single one of them? Like, for example, right here. They always look put together. They always look clean. They always look showered. They always look like they haven't neglected their hygiene. They have flossed their teeth. They have brushed their teeth. They've used their perfume and they put together a decent look. It doesn't have to be something extra or over the top. As long as it goes with your style and it's put together, then that's gonna work really well. Tip number
You can't help but notice how many of these tips so far, how much of this advice is purely focused on a woman's appearance. I have heard her speak very, very little about personality, character, how you treat other people, developing strength, resilience, those sorts of things. It's so focused on how women look. And again, I don't think I need to really explain in too much detail why this is problematic. Women are conditioned to be absolutely obsessed with their appearance. And influencers like this, who really should know better, I mean, she's a young woman. She is probably a Gen Z. She's probably grown up in the era of body positivity and knows about all this, the harm that all of this can do to your self-esteem. And she's still pushing this very harmful messaging about how no one will like you unless your appearance is perfect all the time. This is so damaging and frankly so inaccurate and untrue. Um, and it it causes a plethora of problems, from disordered eating to low self-worth. Poor mental health, anxiety, and depression are all linked to a distorted body image and obsession with your appearance not being good enough. And I definitely remember struggling with this as a young girl, as a teenager, as a very young woman, feeling as if I had to look perfect all the time. And if I let that slip for even a moment, people were just going to be kind of turned off and repelled by me somehow. And nothing could be further from the truth. We we really need to push back against this idea that a woman's worth is in her appearance. It is so harmful, and I feel so strongly about it. Again, I could make an entire video on that, and I'm sure if you're watching this video and you've made it this far, then you are probably in agreement with me about this. But if you have nuanced opinions to share about this, I'd love to hear them in the comments. But it absolutely breaks my heart to think that young women are being told that if their appearance is not put together, in her words, all the time, as if they're not, perfectly polished and glowing and shiny and perfect at all times in terms of how they look, that people are not going to like them or fall in love with them. It's not true. It's very harmful, and it makes me angry to see influencers like this, who, as I say, part of Gen Z really should know better than to be saying things like this. But she's pushing this to her audience. She's got a decent sized following, and so there are young girls who are taking this message on board, and it makes me very sad and very frustrated.
4 is something that can make someone so unattractive that you definitely need to avoid, which is something that a lot of people fall in, and I think I have fallen in at some points as well. But I just made myself a promise that I would never do this, which is if you're going on a date with someone or if you're hanging out with your crush, talking about your previous relationships. Trust me, the person that you're on a date with or your crush doesn't need to hear about your previous relationships. And it really kind of has the potential to ruin a lot of the good things that you have going for two reasons, which is one, that person probably won't feel pleasant when you're talking about it. And number two, which is more complex, is that the person hearing about you talking bad about your previous relationships will get the idea that if you guys were to be in a relationship and if you guys were to break up, you would say the same bad things about them. And usually
I find it so interesting that when she refers to talking about your previous relationships, she's making the assumption that you are going to be saying bad things about previous people that you dated and talking trash about them. Why does it need to be that way? Why can you not speak about previous relationships positively? Why can you not talk about things that you actually liked about previous relationships that you were in, or um, be complimentary about previous people that you've dated? I'm not saying, to go over the top or anything like that. I don't think anyone that you're on a date with necessarily wants to hear a lot of details about previous relationships. We're all maybe a little bit insecure deep down, and some of us, could feel weird hearing a lot of details about previous relationships of someone that we're dating. So that's fair enough, but it doesn't need to be negative talk. And I think it's telling that she is, you know, assuming that you're going to be talking trash about someone that you've previously dated or been in a relationship with. And that isn't a good idea. I mean, no, don't badmouth someone that you've been in a relationship with or dated to a new person. That isn't nice. That person's not there to defend themselves, and no one really wants to hear that. But there's nothing wrong with saying to someone that you are dating, yeah, I had this previous relationship, it didn't work out. Unfortunately, we went our separate ways, but he was a very kind and considerate partner, and I wish him all the best. There's nothing wrong with saying something like that. I just found that interesting. I found it interesting that she's making the assumption that everyone is just going to be talking trash about their exes. I personally never talk trash about my exes. To I try not to do that to anyone really. Um, it's it's not the time or the place. But I don't think that there's any problem with speaking positively about exes as long as everything in moderation, I think is probably fine.
when the person talks trash about their previous relationship and it's a significant number of relationships, you get the idea that it's probably not the people that person has dated, it's them. And that's the person you kind of don't want to be around. But even that aside, it can create a negative comparison where the person might feel like you're trying to compare them to someone, and that just makes the other person feel bad, which might make them want to interact with you less. Number 5, the girl that everyone is in love with is educated. She has her interests that she looks.
Okay, I just need to stop it right there. Um, Nothing wrong with being educated, of course. Education is a beautiful thing, it's a wonderful thing. But why are we subtly shaming people who are not educated? What is the purpose of that? Is this girl, Angel Grey, trying to imply that if you are not educated, that no one will fall in love with you? If you're not book smart, if you're not extremely well read, or if you don't have college degrees, etc., that people are not going to fall in love with you? This is again, it's potentially very toxic. I mean, I think where she's going with this is, and we'll let her continue in a moment, but I think where she's going with this is to say you should be well read, you should know what's going on in the world. And, you know, that may or may not be harmful advice. Not everybody wants to be well read. Not everyone is interested in what's going on in the news, all this sort of thing. It's not a necessity to be educated to a high degree or to be very well read or to be very well informed. I think if it's something that interests you, then that's great. But you certainly don't have to be that way in order to be liked and loved by other people. And again, I think this is the sort of thing that has the potential to make women feel just never good enough. Like they don't know enough. They're not smart enough. They're not intelligent enough. They're not interesting enough. And that they can't just be themselves. They can't just say, well, yeah, I don't actually enjoy reading. I actually just enjoy, you know, sport or being out in the garden or hiking, or I enjoy just hanging out with my friends or with my pets, or I actually like watching TV. Whatever it is that you like to do is fine. You don't have to like the things or do the things that she's telling you you have to do and like in order for other people to love you. It makes me very sad.
Into she has her hobbies that she does. So don't be afraid to show if you have something going for you. If you don't have anything, how do you expect people to be interested in hanging out with you? And how do you expect people to fall in love with you? Like full.
And again, the purpose, she's talking about having interests and hobbies and all of that kind of thing, which is fine. But again, it's the same thing as what I talked about with Adrienne Everhart, where she was talking about having a rich, full, and juicy life. According to these influencers and coaches, the purpose of having hobbies and interests and a full life is not for your own happiness and enjoyment. Oh, no, 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 no. It's so that you're interesting to other people. It's so that other people don't get bored of you and that other people like you. That's the purpose of it. And I have a huge problem with this. Why are women not just allowed to do things that make them happy just for their own benefit, just to make themselves happy? Why does it always have to be for the benefit of other people? This is where this people pleasing obsession comes in, this endless need to be likable and good enough for other people creeps into a woman's psyche where she doesn't feel like she has the right to just enjoy things just for her own sake. You don't even need to share your hobbies and interests with other people if you don't want to. They can just be for you. The purpose should be to be your authentic self and to make yourself happy. And obviously, if someone else expresses an interest, you're welcome to share that with them. But it should be for yourself and not to get other people to like you. And it just makes me so, so sad that there could be girls walking around thinking that they need to somehow start up some sort of interest or hobby just in order to be appealing to a boy, say. It's just terribly, terribly sad to me.
In love with what? If you're the person who sits on their bed all day and just scrolls through their phone, just passively consuming content that is not beneficial or teaches them anything interesting, the person that can't really have an interesting conversation because they have nothing going on in their life.
Just find it kind of ironic that she says that, and yet she's a TikToker and an influencer who creates content. So I always find it funny, you know, people who criticize others for sitting and passively scrolling on their phone are the same people who create that content for a living. So, I mean, up to a point, she's right. I don't think necessarily that if you do just lie on your bed scrolling through your phone all day, you know, you may or may not have interesting things to talk about with other people, you know, depending on what kind of content you're watching, I suppose. But it might not be the healthiest thing for you. I'm less concerned about whether you're interesting to other people. And I'm more concerned about the effect of excessive social media exposure on a person's mental health. There's lots of scientific research that links excessive social media use to poor mental health outcomes like anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation are all linked to social media use. And so yeah, I mean, if you want to have interesting conversation to share with other people, then that's great. But also, please take care of your own mental health. This really should all be about you, your happiness, your health. And if you are finding that maybe your mental health is not the greatest, you're not as happy as you'd like to be, maybe take a look at your social media use. Is it excessive? Because, as I say, there is a clear correlation between excessive social media use and poor mental health. So that's just something to think about. Everything in moderation is fine, but if you find that you're spending too much time on your phone, too much time on social media sites, even sites like YouTube, it can be detrimental to your mental health. So just wanted to point that out. It's not only to be interesting to other people, to have other hobbies and interests outside of social media, but it's also for your own health and happiness as well.
Or the person that has nothing to talk about except for gossip because they don't really have their interests aside from other people's lives or just being bitter about someone else. Who's gonna fall in love with that? So if you're the person who has no interests, go join an after school activity, go join a club, start doing some kind of sport, start learning something that you're interested.
Not everyone is sporty, and that's okay. Just feel the need, as a very unsporty woman, I just feel the need to make that point. Yeah, and again, I just find it interesting that she kind of also equates consuming content with gossip and being bitter about other people. I wonder if she knows that there is actually a very, very wide variety of content on social media. It's not all gossip and bitterness about other people. There's lots of things to be learned, lots of interesting information on a lot of those sites as well. It's all very two-dimensional, I find, but anyway, that's why I'm here. I'm just trying to point these things out. So yes, social media use in moderation can be fine. Um, if it gets to be excessive and you find that all you're talking about is gossip that you consume on social media, then that might be something to look at. But again, I think one's mental health and happiness is even more of a concern here. If you want to take up a sport, do it because it's a sport that you like and that you're interested in, and not so just purely so that you can have something to which will make you seem interesting to other people.
In. Instead of spending time scrolling mindlessly on social media and basically brain rotting, that is gonna make you an interesting person to have conversations with, and that's gonna make you magnetic to people because you actually can talk about something besides celebrity.
Also, participating in activities that you enjoy, that you're passionate about, that sort of light you up and energize you, it's just really good for your happiness and your health. And again, I don't like how she's making the focus of this, just simply that other people will like you more. It's good for you, and if you're going to do it for that reason. I think I've probably beaten that horse to death at this point.
Drama or gossip or how bored you are at school. And with that, one of the most important things that the girl that everyone is in love with has is that she is in love with herself. If you don't like yourself, how do you expect other people to like you? If you don't even like something, the girl that everyone's in love with has this kind of light from the inside. She's glowing, she's happy with herself and with her life. And the way you can achieve this if you don't feel like that right now is, for example, watching something that makes you feel really inspired. Watching something that.
Well, okay. Firstly, again, much like with the previous point, having good self-esteem, loving yourself is really important. She's right about that. But do it again, do it because it's good for your health and happiness, and not purely to get other people to love you. Loving yourself is is not a means to an end. It is an end in and of itself. Loving yourself is beneficial. Just even if you stop right there and you just love yourself and you don't even think about the impact that that's going to have on other people. You don't need to learn to love yourself just so that other people will love you. You can learn to love yourself because loving yourself is a good thing to do. And although she's about to talk about, how you can watch things that inspire you and listen to motivational podcasts or whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. Um, but again, a lot of the problems when we don't love ourselves are go a lot deeper than that. And that can be where therapy could be a really good idea. And working with someone who can help you uncover deeper issues and beliefs and thought patterns that could be interfering with your self love and your sense of self worth and self esteem. And motivational podcasts and all that kind of thing, that's all very well. Again, it's not going to hurt, I don't think, a lot of the time, as long as you're choosing who you listen to wisely. But it often is just kind of quite surface level. And a lot of those issues do go deeper. And so I think therapy is a great thing for everybody. I think everyone deserves to have someone that they can talk to about mental health issues that they're struggling with. I understand that therapy is not affordable or available for everybody, but even if you have some sort of a trusted confidant that you can talk to, or journaling can be really good to help you to discover, you know, harmful thought patterns and beliefs and issues that might be getting in the way of you loving yourself, all those sorts of things, I think are potentially more important than listening to inspiring podcasts or what have you.
Lights you up in the morning. The first thing in the morning, what I usually do in my routine is I watch something inspiring on YouTube. I watch a video that either has some kind of lifestyle that I really want, a vlog of something that I would love to experience that just makes me feel so happy and excited from the inside, or I watch something that I really want to learn about, like something artsy or something about stories or books. Start the day with something that lights you up and try to find things in yourself that you like, and the things that you don't like, if you can change them, change them. Because when you're obsessed with yourself, that's when
Again, this word obsessed, which I don't like. You don't need to be obsessed with yourself. Self-love is enough. It doesn't need to cross over into obsession. Obsession is not healthy. We don't need to now be becoming self-absorbed and self-obsessed. Self-love is the goal, really. Just feeling good about yourself, self-acceptance, kindness towards yourself, liking yourself, appreciating yourself, being proud of yourself, you're recognizing your strengths and the areas that you need to improve on, and giving yourself space and grace and, you know, the 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 resources in order to live your happiest, healthiest life. That's self-love. We don't need to be obsessed with ourselves. And as I say, there's nothing wrong with, what she says her morning routine is watching lifestyle videos or inspirational videos on YouTube. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, also make sure that you're doing the deeper work when it comes to negative self-talk and negative self-beliefs, and don't just stop at the superficial stuff. Really give yourself the option of also loving yourself on a very deep level, not just on a superficial level. And that can take longer, but it really yields a lot of benefits over the long run. Really working on your self-worth at a deeper level is really important. And I do think the younger that you can start on that journey of deep self-love, the more it's going to pay dividends as you progress in life. So that's just what I think.
everyone else will get obsessed with you. The other ways that you can feel better about yourself and you can fall in love with yourself is number one, you can use this exercise of vision boarding yourself. You can make a vision board of your aesthetic, who you are, that is going to let you romanticize your personality and romanticize you as a person and is
Okay, I don't necessarily have a problem with people envisioning who they want to be and drawing inspiration from others. That can be a beautiful thing to do. But again, notice how a lot of this is really superficial. She's talking about your aesthetic. And it's again, a lot of it seems to be very focused on lifestyle and appearance. And she's not talking about those deeper issues of self-worth and self-acceptance. And the things that can really have a positive effect on our mental health, when, you know, kindness to yourself and really allowing yourself to fail and to try again and to going easy on yourself and really all those all the behaviors and qualities that we associate with love. When we talk about loving another person, we should also be adopting those same behaviors towards ourselves. And it's really not just about, you know, liking the way that you look or liking the lifestyle that you have. It's about how you feel about yourself on a deep level. Do you show kindness to yourself? Do you accept yourself? Do you make decisions that are in your own best interests on a consistent basis? Do you choose people to be in your life who are also kind to you and who care about you? These are all facets of self-love that she doesn't talk about. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Please remember, self-love goes a lot deeper than just being okay with how you look and with the lifestyle that you have. It's much, much deeper than that.
going to kind of show you how cool you are. Or if you don't like anything about yourself, then definitely vision board the ideal version of yourself and start working towards that.
Well, again, if you don't like anything about yourself, I would venture to say that the problem is a lot deeper than just working towards an ideal version of yourself. In fact, I think working towards an ideal version of yourself could actually be very harmful. I mean, look how skinny these women are that are on her vision board. Some of them are extremely thin, unhealthily so. And I don't necessarily think we should be encouraging young women to work towards these images as an ideal version of themselves. If you don't like anything about yourself, then that's a good place to stop and say, okay, what are the thoughts that I'm telling myself about myself? What thoughts do I think about myself? You know, for instance, if I tell myself that I have an ugly face, for instance, I'm just taking an example. What are the thoughts that I say to myself on a daily basis that reinforce this idea that I think I have an ugly face? And where did that first start? How far back can I go in my life to see where I first thought that thought about having an ugly face? And who told me that? Where did I get that message? And how can I start to deconstruct that thought and challenge that thought and replace it with thoughts that are more loving and more kind and more accurate? And how can I really start to fill my life with supportive and uplifting messages and messages that let me know that not only am I not ugly, but I'm actually really beautiful, because that's true of every single one of us. We're all beautiful. And so if you find yourself thinking thoughts like that, then that is really a sign for you to stop and really deconstruct where those thoughts came from and how you can start to challenge those thoughts, how you can start to remove negative influences that are making you think that way about yourself and replace them bit by bit with thoughts and messages that are more uplifting and supportive and positive. Again, I could make a whole video about that, and maybe I will one of these days, but I just felt the need to say that right there. I don't like this vision board that she's showing us on the screen, to me, these women, they're all very beautiful, but they're also very thin. I think there's a lot of unrealistic um, body imaging going on here, and I don't like it. And I don't like that this is being given as advice to young women of how to get good self-esteem. This, in my opinion, is the very opposite of good self-esteem.
This is gonna help you realize that you can be someone that everyone falls in love with, which is going to
Again, notice for her, the goal is having other people fall in love with you. It's not being happy within yourself, being happy with who you are and with loving yourself and feeling comfortable in your own skin, being your authentic self. That's for her, that's not the goal. For her, the goal is having other people love you. Because to me, the message of this entire video is that you are only good enough if everybody else loves you. And as soon as other people take that love away, you are no longer acceptable or worthy or okay. And so I really, really hope that by opening up this discussion, we can start to challenge these messages. Sorry, I've been talking for a long time. We can start to challenge these messages about needing the approval and love of other people in order to be okay within ourselves. You don't need the approval and love of others in order to be a lovable person. That love and approval is going to fluctuate throughout your life. And you need to find a way to still love yourself and be okay with yourself. Whether you have 10 other people who love and accept you or just one other person. You know, as human beings, yes, we're very social creatures, and we do depend on others, and it's very natural for us to look to other people to see, are they accepting of me? Do they love me? And we are very interdependent as a species. But this needs to be balanced, and so relationships are important, but this needs to be balanced with a healthy sense of self-love. And also, we should be looking for people who love and accept the authentic version of ourselves, who we naturally are. You know, the version of ourselves that makes us happy, not someone that makes, we don't want to be a version of ourselves that feels pressured and this constant need to be perfect and to live up to the expectations of other people. We should be able to be ourselves, and we should be choosing other people who love us for ourselves. Hope I've really hope I've explained that the way that I wanted to, and I hope I've driven that point home at this point. I know I've repeated myself a lot, but I just think it's so important.
give you a different energy about yourself. It's going to let you show up differently to people in your life, to your crush, to the people that you want to fall in love with you, and those people are going to respond. But one thing that you really need to be aware of is not to compete with others, because that is going to absolutely kill your self-worth. If you guys
That will kill your self-worth. Not it's going to, it will kill your self-worth. Anyway. Yeah, competing with other people, not good. It's very toxic. And I think, ironically, she's giving this advice about not competing with other women, and yet she is asking the young women who are watching this video to compare themselves with this girl that everyone will fall in, is, you know, everyone falls in love with this particular girl, that this picture that she's painting of this girl that everyone falls in love with. She's asking the women in her audience to compare themselves to that person. So I think it's kind of ironic. She doesn't seem to realize the irony of what she's saying here.
are interested, I have a video on that is going to help you stop comparing yourself to other people. But basically, whenever you feel like you're thinking, but that girl's prettier, or that girl is smarter than me, she has better opportunities, you have to stop yourself. This is not a race against someone. You have.
And yet, all throughout this video, she's been putting up images of on the screen of girls that she clearly believes are sort of this ideal version, this perfect girl that we should all aspire to be like. You know, that Alicia, is it, what's her name? Alicia Silverstone from Clueless. She used that image a lot. And there's a whole Megan Fox was in there as well. She's used all these images of other women in this video, clearly encouraging the girls in her audience to compare themselves to those women. And yet here she's giving us the advice not to compare ourselves to others. It's this is the sort of thing that can really mess with a girl's head, with people's heads, and just kind of it makes this advice very confusing, and to me it also exposes the flaws in this kind of advice.
To be content in yourself only. Someone else being pretty, someone else having good things in their life doesn't take away anything from your life. The only thing comparison will do is it's gonna kill your self-worth. And something else that this is gonna help you with is another tip, that when talking to people, be light, be positive.
Okay, she's going to move on to the next tip, but I just wanted to say also, this is good advice in the sense that um, other people having good things, other people being attractive, other people being successful, all those sorts of things. We do need to evolve, I think, as as a species, and especially as women. I do think we need to evolve to a place where we can be genuinely happy for the success and good things that happen to other people, you know, without it meaning anything negative about ourselves. So I do agree with her. That is definitely something that I think, you know, we need to aspire to for good mental health. Comparison, competition with others is only going to bring you down. And so I agree with her in that sense. But as I say, I just do find it a contradiction that in the one breath she says, don't compare yourself to others. In the other breath, she's trying to teach us to become someone else. So just be aware of that. Um, I would say strive to be happy with who you are authentically and naturally, and strive to be happy for other people who are also trying to be who they are authentically and naturally. And don't concern yourself with what other people are doing, really, aside from just wishing them well and extending kindness and love towards them. Um, but don't compare where you are on your journey in life to other people. This is actually a lesson that I had to have reinforced this week, because being on social media, and I think I've spent a bit more time on social media recently because of it being the holidays, I've had a lot of time off work, and I just noticed some of those comparison thoughts creeping into my head, and it started to make me a little bit down on myself. And then I caught myself and I was like, hang on, I'm spending more time on social media than usual and I'm not feeling so great mentally. What's going on here? And I thought, oh, yes, okay. And then I started to notice those comparisons that I was making. And I thought, okay, probably time for me to take a bit of a step back from social media and to get refocused on myself and what I want to be doing, and, you know, and stop comparing where I think I am in my journey to where other people are. And I think that's a really good and helpful reminder for all of us, especially in the age of social media.
Try to focus on the things that are good and try to focus on the things that make you happy or excited. Don't be sitting there and complaining, because emotions are contagious and that's going to reflect off to the person that you're talking to. If you're talking to your coach and if you're complaining all the time, that person is just gonna feel so drained, and that person is just gonna feel all of that negative energy going towards them, and they won't want to interact with you.
This is, to me, reeking very much of toxic positivity. Always be light, always be positive. And this is a harmful message that women have internalized from time immemorial. Always be smiling, always be saying positive things, never complain. And it's just, it's very, very frustrating for me to hear the same advice being given to young women in this day and age, because there's nothing wrong with expressing negative feelings. We need to be able to express negative feelings. We need to be able to talk about things that are bothering us. We should be normalizing that, in my opinion. I mean, yes, if you're going overboard and you're kind of dumping on one particular person in your life, or kind of just excessively sharing, to the point that it becomes too much for someone in your life, that's not good. That's kind of crossing their boundaries. And so we do need to be exploring other resources to help us deal with our problems. But we shouldn't be scared about sharing negative things with the people in our lives. If we feel sad or angry or frustrated about something, we should feel okay to share that. We shouldn't feel this pressure to be positive and happy all the time. Um, if you are in a relationship with someone, things are not always going to be perfect. You're going to sometimes need to talk about issues and problems, and sometimes you're going to need to troubleshoot and come up with solutions to things. And so things can't always be toxically positive all the time. That's not healthy. Again, as I say, just make sure that you're not excessively dumping on one person about all your negative feelings and problems. Try to make sure that you have lots of resources in your life to help you deal with problems so that you're not becoming too draining to one or two people. Be considerate as well. Obviously, if they're going through a tough time, they might need you to listen to them as well. We should be normalizing this. We should be normalizing, being authentic with our feelings and sharing how we really are, and not feeling like we need to plaster on a fake smile. So I really don't like this. Starting to get tired. We're nearly at the end of this video, so I'm going to just try and get through the rest of this. Even though I have a lot more I could say, I'll probably make more videos about this topic. But let's just watch the last bit of this video.
The next time, well, if you're light, if you're positive, if you bring people up, and if you bring this light, bubbly energy into conversations, now obviously there are some serious conversations.
Not everyone is bubbly. That's a particular personality type. Some people are not naturally bubbly, and that's okay. We don't all need to be light and bubbly. Some people are naturally light and bubbly, and that's lovely. But some people are not naturally light and bubbly. Some people are more serious. Some people are more introverted, and that's lovely too. We are allowed to be ourselves. We don't have to be light and bubbly. Just feel like I need to say that.
But for the most part, if talking to you lifts someone up, they're more likely to want to talk to you again because people want to feel good. And sometimes, if someone provides those good feelings, they're gonna want to interact with that person more. And before we get into the last and one of the
Just also need to say, it's not only good feelings that are uplifting, sometimes it can actually be uplifting for someone to feel like they can talk about something difficult with you. Sometimes, if you are that person who is a good listener, who is someone that people can confide in and feel safe with, talking about difficult things, that can also be uplifting for other people. So again, I just feel like I need to counteract this toxic positivity message and say that negative emotions, negative experiences in life are just as important and valuable as the positive ones. And we shouldn't be trying to repress them in the name of always being light and bubbly. That's very, very toxic and unhealthy. And I really hate to think about young women internalizing this message and feeling like they're never allowed to talk about negative feelings or negative things that are going on with them. You can still be uplifting and supportive to others by having difficult conversations or having conversations about negative topics. That can be very valuable too. So
most important tips, I'm gonna do the shout out of the week, which this time goes to
okay, so I'm not particularly interested in the shout out of the week. But I really want to know what you guys think of all of that. You know, if you find advice like this, videos like this by Angel Gray, if you find them genuinely helpful and you find that they impact you positively and that you actually get benefit from following this advice, then I'm delighted. My primary concern is people's health, happiness, mental health particularly. And what I'm concerned about is young women whose self-esteem or self-worth might be a bit shaky, and they watch videos like that and it causes them to doubt themselves and to feel like they're not good enough. And so my commentary is for those people. But again, if you're a fan of Angel Gray, if you like her content, I'm not here to discredit your experience. I'm not here to say that you're wrong. I'm just here to point out how this kind of content can be interpreted and perceived by a lot of young women, and I don't really think it's the healthiest. So I've been talking for an awfully long time. I'm going to take a break now, and I will see you in the next video. Please be kind to yourselves, be good to yourselves, be kind and good to other people, and I'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.